Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Michala Petersen, and I'm a pharmacist from Minden, Nebraska. And we're going to talk today about prevention and disease. So these are my little kiddos. Micah right here is 8, Marley's 6, Merrick's 4, and Madden is 2.5. And these little people are the reason that my mission is to inspire healthy living. I absolutely love seeing them get healthy, get healthier, and most importantly, be aware of their health for the future. So we're going to talk about some statistics today that are kind of bleak, but first I want to give you hope that no matter what choices you have made in the past, there still is hope. You still can make better choices going forward, and these are all the miraculous things that happen in your body in the course of a year. So in 6 weeks, your liver rebuilds itself. In 3 months, your bones are brand new. In 1 year, your brain rebuilds itself. Every cell in your brain is new within 1 year. Your DNA renews itself every 2 months. The stomach lining is 5 days. Your skin in 1 year, and your blood is brand new every 4 months. This is the new childhood in America. 1 in 3 is overweight. 1 in 6 has a learning disability. 1 in 9 children has asthma. 1 in 10 has ADHD. 1 in 12 have food allergies. 1 in 20 have seizures. 1 in 54 males have autism, and 1 in 88 children have autism. And that statistic is rising every year. It is so scary. 50%, or half of all of our children in the United States, have a chronic illness or are overweight. And this is the new normal. So are you concerned yet? Because if you're not, then we're not paying attention. The risk of being diagnosed with cancer, in the year 1900, the risk was 1 in 30. And in the year 2000, the risk was 1 in 2. So we are doing something fundamentally wrong, and it needs to change. And this can start with our plates. So that's what we're going to talk about today. By the time the average child in America turns 8 years old, they've had more sugar in their lives than the average person did in an entire lifetime just 1 century ago. So this talks about the diet in America. As you can see, this purple area is sugar and fat. And this green area, which we're also going to focus on, is produce. So these should be lopsided. I mean, these should be flipped, okay? So why is sugar so bad for us? 1 teaspoon of sugar depletes the immune system by 50% for up to 4 to 6 hours. And so if you think about this, we wonder why our kids get so sick after Halloween and Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I mean, we're expecting these little beings that are barometers of stress to be in, different places, stressful environments. We expect them to behave perfectly on little sleep, and then we sugar them up to boot. So their little immune systems just cannot deal with it. And that's why we get the random acts of barfness after those main holidays, it seems like. So this is a slide that depicts the amount of sugar in 1 Pepsi. And I was an avid Pepsi drinker. I drank one Pepsi a day through every pregnancy, nursing, everything. I thought it was my only vice. What can it hurt? And then I saw this slide. And so if you see this is kind of blurry, but this says sugar, the number of grams of sugar is 41 grams. So if you divide that by 4, that is how many teaspoons of sugar are contained in 1 serving of pop. So you have to be careful because like 20-ounce bottles of pop are more than 1 serving. So then you have to divide this by 4 and then multiply that by 2 if it's 2 servings. So 1 can of Pepsi, as you can see, has 10.25 teaspoons of sugar. So, we wonder why our kids get hyper after drinking something with sugar in it. This is exactly why. So this is a Rethink Your Drink campaign. And this is the amount of sugar in milk, which was mind-blowing to me. More sugar in milk than in juice, or this fake juice right here, right? And you can see, Crush or Fanta, or, some of those Fresca or whatever that don't have caffeine that we think are safe. Oh, they don't have caffeine. It's not affecting our kids' hearts. Look how many teaspoons of sugar is contained in this 1 can of Crush. So anyway, Jamie Oliver is how many of you know who Jamie Oliver is? He does Food Revolution. and he goes around the nation giving this TED Talk. And one thing he does is he takes a wheelbarrow full of sugar cubes and he dumps them on the stage. And that depicts the amount of sugar that an elementary student age kindergarten through third grade will drink, the amount of sugar that they will consume just from drinking milk in school. So that's crazy to me. This is Dr. David Katz, and he is a world-renowned physician. He is in integrative medicine and also on the prevention side of medicine. He's kind of piloting this prevention program. And this is an old slide, I think. Now he says this is the first generation of children to live to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children as young as 8 years old be treated with a cholesterol-lowering agent, which just breaks my heart because those kids need cholesterol to make sex hormones, to develop in puberty right, and you suppress cholesterol and you're also suppressing the ability for them to make those hormones. 25% of our children take prescriptions on a regular basis, and 1 in 3 children will develop diabetes in their lifetime. 75% of all chronic disease is preventable, and this all can start with our plate. So it says, supercharge your nutrition, upgrade your health, easy. So how do we do this? The USDA recommends that we fill half of our plates with fruits and vegetables. I know maybe 2 people that do this on a regular basis, especially every meal. So this is a good depiction. The picture on your far right is 2 servings of fruits and vegetables. That is the amount that an average American gets on a daily basis, and I would argue that it may even be less than that. The second to the right plate is 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. That's what a quote-unquote healthy American eats on an average day. The picture then in the middle left is 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables right here, and that's what we're recommended that we eat. And then this bowl on the far end is 18 servings of fruits and vegetables, and 18 servings is what is recommended if you are an athlete or work out in any capacity in order to combat the free radicals and oxidative stress that are produced by working out, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So this slide looks a little complicated, but hopefully I can explain it to you. This is a traditional diet right here. This upper row is a traditional diet. Hold on. Versus metabolic reprogramming or being nutritionally fit on the bottom. So these little polka dotted guys are called free radicals. They're toxins in your body. And what these things are, these are similar to when a log burns in a flame, there's ash, that's the byproduct that's produced. And so our cells also have a byproduct from breathing and eating and sleeping and living and, exercising and all those things. So these are those little byproducts. They're called free radicals. And what they do is they are like pinballs that bounce around your body, and they are just unstable electrons looking for a way out, looking for a way to be detoxified, and they want out of our body. But if we don't fuel our body with the right thing, they can't get out of our body. And so that's the problem. So these little guys are bouncing around. This person is dieting, and they may, go on Weight Watchers and do like I did and sacrifice the 6-point meal for the 6-point brownie, which has no nutritional value. And so these little impurities are still just clogging this guy. And so he may shed some weight, but then eventually this happens. Eventually he's rebounding. And so let me see if I can get my mouse to circle that a little better. So he still has those toxins and impurities in him. And because the body is a miraculous machine, it holds on to fat. It makes new fat to protect those organs so that those organs aren't damaged. This is why we get wrinkles and aging and disease and all these things, because those little free radicals lead to oxidative stress, and oxidative stress leads to inflammation, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. So this is person B, who is heavy, and he knows he has a lot of toxins and impurities, and he decides that he is going to train his body to crave good things. So he takes in a ton of fruits and vegetables. He does what he's supposed to. He gets the recommended servings, and his body detoxes. So those fruits and vegetables attach, those antioxidants attach to those free radicals, And now they're stable. Now they have a buddy. So you know, those fruits and vegetables are holding on to those guys. You drink water, and then they're able to be whisked away to your liver and kidneys to be detoxified and eliminated. So then, you know, 4 months later, this guy has very little free radical damage in his body. And then he's able to maintain that weight loss without any rebound, because those organs aren't fighting for their life and scared that they're going to be damaged and clinging to the fat. So I'm a perfect example of this. I am leaner now, post 4 children. Now that I'm nutritionally fit and, you know, my body is well balanced, I am leaner now than I was when I played college volleyball. But again, you know, I didn't know the importance of fruits and vegetables at that point. So this is what free radical damage and oxidative stress causes. Basically, it affects every organ system. So your skin, your kidneys, your joints, it causes arthritis, your lungs, asthma, allergies, cancer, acute respiratory distress syndrome, brain function, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, immune system, autoimmune disorders. We used to have, you know, like less than 10 autoimmune disorders 30 years ago, and now there's 170. It affects the blood, it affects your clotting, hypertension, multi-organ, diabetes, aging. It affects the eyes, macular degeneration, heart disease, blood pressure, hypertension. I really believe that you can take 2 people with the same exact numbers, you know, as far as cholesterol, blood pressure, all of that. And it doesn't matter what those numbers are, the person that has the inflammatory response heightened in their body is the one that's going to have the disease. So we need to get that inflammation out of there. And the way to do that is high amounts of fruits and vegetables. So I love this slide because the picture on your left is a 1-a-day multivitamin and the phytochemicals that are contained in that multivitamin. So there's less than 20, I would say, in that jar. And then on your right here, you have an organic apple. In this little jar is 16,000 phytochemicals. And those phytochemicals are what attaches to those free radicals and are able to whisk the nasty stuff away to be detoxified. So you look at this multivitamin, it may have 250% of your daily allotted vitamin C, but we are not made to process that. Our bodies do not know what to do with that. And actually, 2 multivitamin studies have been stopped 2 years short because the multivitamin population had a higher incidence of cancer and disease than the placebo group. So you look at an orange, for example. An orange has 6 micrograms of vitamin C, but it also works very well with the other 15,999 nutrients that are contained in that orange. So we know what oranges did for scurvy, right? I mean, they pretty much eradicated scurvy in our soldiers with just eating oranges. So the point of that is that whole food is always going to be better than a supplement or than an artificial source, because our liver has to take that artificial source through 12 different conversions in order to get it to a recognizable form in our body. And by that time, you've caused more stress on the body because you have sent it through those conversions. It's caused more oxidative stress. And, you know, you're peeing bright yellow at the end of the day, meaning that you didn't absorb what you thought you should have. Ironically enough, prenatal vitamins in our country are the staple. I mean, that's what every doctor tells every pregnant woman to take. But there is not a single prenatal multivitamin in the United States that I have found anyway that has any bioavailability studies. And what bioavailability means is that it actually gets into your bloodstream and does what it says it's going to do. So anyway, that's interesting. So this is the list of the phytochemicals that are present in an apple versus a multivitamin label. And you can see, obviously, whole food is always best. So why do we care about this? Because the United States is the sickest nation in the country, yet we spend, or in the world, yet we spend the most on healthcare of anyone in the world. So what we're doing is not working, right? So eventually we're going to have to figure something else out. And in my opinion, prevention is that answer. So 8 out of 10 Americans don't eat enough color. Well, why does it matter? I didn't learn this in pharmacy school. I know doctors didn't learn this in med school because pharmacists and doctors take the class together. and we get 1 week of nutrition training in all of professional school. So this is fascinating. And now that I know this, I'm very cognizant of us eating the rainbow. I was pretty good before about, we would eat the same 3 fruits and vegetables, throughout the week, but it definitely was not the rainbow. So we're going to go over just real quick why this is so important. So 74% of Americans don't eat enough red fruits and vegetables. Red benefits are they support the prostate, the urinary tract, DNA health. They protect against cancer and heart disease. 76% don't eat enough purple and blue. And a lot of these, it's maybe not our fault. Maybe we don't have ripe produce that is good throughout the year, especially in Nebraska. So the purple benefits are they are good for heart, brain, bone, artery, and cognitive health. They fight cancer and support healthy aging. 69% of us don't eat enough green fruits and vegetables. They support healthy eye health, arterial function, lung health, liver function, cell health, and helps wound healing and gum health. 83% of us don't eat enough white fruits and vegetables, and these are especially hard to get into kids, I've found. They support healthy bones, circulatory system, and arterial function, and they fight cancer and heart disease. 80% don't eat enough yellow or orange fruits and vegetables. They are good for eye health, healthy immune function, and they support healthy growth and development. So these are just some fun facts that I found about different fruits and vegetables that I didn't know, so I thought maybe you wouldn't know either. So 90% of a cucumber is water. They dissolve kidney and bladder stones. They're anti-cancer. They heal ulcers. They regulate the blood pressure, rehydrate the body, relieve headaches, and promote healthy skin. And carrots, we all know carrots are great for your eyes, but did you know that they facilitate digestion? Did you know that they stimulate gums and induce excess saliva, which protects against cavities? Watermelon is fascinating. If there's any men in the room, I usually only get to about number 2, though, when it says watermelon is a natural aphrodisiac, because they're like wanting to leave and go get some watermelon at the grocery store at this point. But watermelon is also a natural mood elevator. It promotes weight loss. It keeps your kidneys healthy. They're powerful antioxidants, so they leach on to those free radicals like we talked about and help us eliminate them. They soothe muscle soreness. They prevent heat stroke. And they're a natural diuretic. So one thing that we go through about 3 watermelons a week in the summer. And what I do is I cut them into watermelon. No, I don't want to restart. What I do is I cut them into watermelon sticks. So the kids can just reach in the fridge and grab a watermelon stick and go on their way and toss the rind in the trash. We also freeze them, so they're like watermelon popsicles. Way less messy. They don't need utensils if you just cut them as sticks and keep the rind on. That's been a real fun thing that we've done this summer. So God's Pharmacy is absolutely amazing. A sliced carrot looks like a human eye, and it generally enhances blood flow to the eye. A tomato has 4 chambers, just like a heart. It's loaded with lycopene and is pure heart and blood food. Tomatoes also have a natural sunscreen, which leads me to another problem in the United States. Here, we have, number 1, not enough people go outside. But number 2, everyone, it seems like, has vitamin D deficiency. Well, why is that? Number 1, we may not go outside enough. And number 2, we're coached to lather ourselves with sunscreen. Well, by doing that, not only does sunscreen have a lot of chemicals in it, but number 2, it prevents our body from absorbing the power from the sun that lets us produce our own vitamin D. So I'm not saying, if you're going to be out on the lake or whatever, don't wear sunscreen, but 20 minutes here and there is fine to be out in the sun and to let your body do what it's designed to do. Because ironically enough, vitamin D deficiency also causes skin cancer. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s. So a walnut looks just like a brain and helps develop more than 3 dozen neurobrain functions. And then beans are kidney-shaped and they heal and maintain kidney function. Nutrition in our country is declining, and this is just a really sad, kind of scary statistic. But in 2010, you would need to eat 10 cups of spinach to get the same amount of nutrition that 1 cup of spinach had in 1960. Same way with oranges. You would need to eat 8 oranges in 2010, probably 10 oranges now, to get to the amount of nutrition that was in an orange in 1960. Well, why is that? In 1960, a lot of people had gardens. people grew closer and we didn't really have access to produce all over. It was more locally grown. And now produce is picked way before it's ripe, put on a truck to where we are, sprayed with a chemical to make it look ripe, and then put on our shelves at the grocery store. So the maximum amount of nutrition comes on in a plant in the last 3 to 5 days of ripening. So vine ripened nutrition is so important. So if you take the word eat out of your vocabulary and replace it with nourish, it will change your entire perspective. So what we focus on is one simple change. We know that getting healthy can be daunting, but it's not if you do it one simple change at a time. So what we do is we focus on one thing for a month. We know it only takes 3 weeks for a person to develop a habit and for the brain to get used to that. So we dedicate a month to each topic. So could you eat more whole food or drink more water so that your urine is clear and wine doesn't count? Can you move your body, get more exercise, sleep more, stress less? We've had so much fun with this campaign, and what we do is we have a Facebook group that our people can upload a picture. If it's Color Your Plate Month, for instance, and they're grilling veggies, they can take a picture of their veggies on the grill and inspire others to do the same just by looking at the pictures. So that has been a really fun concept. So let's talk about water for a minute. And I'm not going to read all the way through this because I can give you the recording of this after we're done. But within 5 minutes, your taste buds send messages to your brain, triggering neuronal responses as if the water, that's just a fancy way to write water, has already reached your bloodstream. So if you've noticed how thirsty you can be, and then your thirst is quenched really quickly. 25 minutes after you consume water, hold on, I gotta move this here. It makes you feel more alert. This is the same way cocaine makes you feel, which is fascinating to me. And 60 minutes after, the remaining water that was not absorbed into your system is flushed through your urine and stool. So that's kind of a good gauge if you're traveling with little ones, how long it's going to take them to say, are we there yet? I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the benefits of exercise. These are kind of no-brainers. Improves memory. I didn't know that exercising improves memory, but again, it helps flush those toxins out of your body, which then decrease the inflammation and also makes you think clearer. It improves your complexion, detoxifies your body, boosts the immune system, reduces cancer risk, clears the arteries. So a lot of benefits from moving your body. And this to me is a fascinating slide because I would argue that we are one of the most stressed countries in the entire world, yet nobody wants to admit that we're stressed, right? We're fine, we've got this. But did you know that being accident prone, drinking more, apprehension, loss of confidence, breathlessness, frequent infections, headaches, muddled thinking, impaired judgment, nightmares, all of those are a sign of stress. So I got the pleasure of eating in Phoenix with Dr. Bill Sears, and he's a world-renowned pediatrician. And we actually had a conversation about this foolish 5 that he's talking about here. This is from his book, NDD, Nutritional Deficiency Disorder. And thank you, Mickey Montgomery. I took this slide from one of her talks also because it's fantastic. But anyway, he talks about the foolish 5. And if you clean up the foolish 5 from your diet, you're actually going to be eating 90% clean, which is really hard to do because this stuff is everywhere and in everything. So I knew all these things were bad for you, but until talking to him and then his book, NDD, Nutritional Deficiency Disorder, he argues that our nation does not have a medication deficiency. Our nation has a whole food deficiency. So we're going to talk about the 5 worst things that you can eat here. So the first is high fructose corn syrup. This is factory made, a fake sugar that makes you want to keep eating when you're full. This overexcites the brain and causes neurogenic imbalances like ADD and ADHD. The second is hydrogenated oils. These are the fakest, sickest, and dumbest of all fats. So I don't know that you can eat at a fast food restaurant without consuming these. They create brain fog and obviously is not good for a growing brain. Numbers, these are dyes. These little things that start out as a bottle of food coloring that looks great and then turns into big bad neurotoxins in your body. They poison the nervous system, they attack the nerves and create brain fog. MSG is a preservative that overexcites the brain and lies to your brain about fake food. This is why we're addicted to so many things. We're fast food addicts, or we're pop addicts, or whatever, chips, whatever. And then the fifth is aspartame, and I think this one is the most scary to me. Aspartame is pretty much contained in anything diet, anything 0 calorie, and it goes by a lot of different names, so we really have to be careful here. It degrades to formaldehyde and chlorine in your system, and as a daughter of a mortician, I know that you don't want to pickle people before, while they still have a heartbeat, and it's obviously bad for a growing brain. So if it came from a plant, eat it, and if it was made in a plant, don't. This is a really good rule of thumb, and you can help your children think about this too. If it's in a box, it was made in a plant, and that's not a grow food, so to speak. So it's fun to get them involved. Another way that's great to get kids involved is to grow your own garden. And I loved growing a garden, but we live in the sticks. And so we have, weeds and weeds that grow faster than the plants. You can't keep up with it. And in our case, we have 4.5-foot bull snakes that go wherever a garden is. And so I was introduced to a tower garden by my uncle when I was complaining about weeding. And he said, well, you just need a tower garden. And so I researched it, fell in love with it. It's no dirt, no weeds, no kneeling. It self-waters itself. It's on a timer. It takes 90% less water and 90% less space. And so our kids are way more likely to eat what they grow, right? So these are my 3 girls. I have a boy also that obviously isn't in this picture, but I love telling them, hey, go snag a salad off the tower garden for supper. And they are constantly walking by the tower garden and eating lettuce off of it. So that has been so fun and such a great addition to our family. The picture on your right here is when we put the seedlings in the tower garden. And this is 2 weeks later. So you can literally eat lettuce within 2 to 3 weeks of planting the tower garden, which is so much fun. This is a program that we're doing, not really a program. We are doing a tower tour. We had a spare tower garden in the garage that I would take to fairs and, different salad in a jars. And we decided that we needed to do something with that. And so as a daughter, or, as someone who grew up in the funeral home, I really have a fond love of elderly people. And I was sad that my kids aren't going to have that opportunity. My dad's going to retire before they're of that age that they can work visitations and stuff like that. So we are doing tower tours now. And sorry, that's annoying. So we drop a tower off at a nursing home and we leave it there for 6 weeks. And we go in once a week and we do a 20-minute tower talk. And the kids, half the time they're ending up singing Jingle Bells in June, on the microphone. But the residents don't care. We plant seedlings with them. And it's just been so much fun. So this slide on your right says, why try to explain miracles to your kids when you have them plant a garden? And it has been so rewarding for us. So this just is a little slide to depict a tower garden versus a soil-grown garden. So a soil-grown garden takes 71 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of lettuce, whereas a tower garden takes 3 gallons. So you could produce over 23 pounds of lettuce in a soil-free garden with the same amount of water it takes to produce 1 pound in the field. And why do we care about this? California is in one of the worst droughts in history, and 90% of our green vegetables come from California. So this is seriously the wave of gardening. So I have to also tell you, we've been kind of bleak talking about how bad we eat in America, but I would be remiss in this talk if I didn't tell you a tool that my family and I and many of our friends use to also get to bridge the gap between what we should eat and what we actually do eat. And that is a product called Juice Plus. And what Juice Plus is 30 fruits, vegetables, and berries that are in a capsule or a soft chew for kids. And when I called the pharmacist that posted the picture of the tower garden on Facebook, I had no idea what Juice Plus was. And within one conversation, I went from never having heard of it to being a rep for the company, because to me, $50 a year for no minimums, no quotas, and no inventories made sense to get this powerful nutrition into my kids. And as a family of 6, I wanted it at the best price, but I was not going to share it with a soul. I didn't want to be one of those people, Well, so our family had big results right off the bat. I had more energy. My husband was involved in a cannon accident 3 years ago, and he wasn't having the pain and inflammation in his leg that he had previously had. Our 8-month-old daughter needed tubes in her ears, and when we started on Juice Plus, I canceled those just to see how she would do. She has never gotten tubes in her ears. She's never had another ear infection. She's never been to the doctor since, and she has never been on an antibiotic, obviously, since. So as a family of 6, in 2 years, we have not had one single sick visit to the doctor, which is so powerful. Our 4-year-old had trouble with focus, and 3 weeks later, she was crawling up on our lap and asking us to read her full books, which is so heartwarming as a mom, because in 4 years, I'd never gotten through a whole book with her. So that was really powerful. And our 2-year-old little guy gagged at anything green. He would push broccoli off his plate, and it was a holy fight to get him to eat anything green. And within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I can't remember the exact time frame, but within a few weeks, I said, Merrick, we're having people over for supper. What should I cook? And he said salad. And he ate it. He ate seconds. He wanted more of it. So at that point, I knew I needed to research what Juice Plus was. And these are all the ingredients. So I started by researching what these ingredients do for the body, which is fascinating. And then I came upon all of this research here. Research done in cancer survivors. MD Anderson did a cancer study. UCLA, Brigham Young, Yale, all of these different universities. And so I came across the birth of Juice Plus, and the creator's dad was given 3 weeks to live and ended up living for 15 years. And the first thing I did was I messaged a mom of a kiddo with cancer. And her reply back to me was, how long have you known about this, and why didn't you tell me sooner? And it was that day that my life changed. I realized that I went to school and took an oath to do no harm. And by sitting on Juice Plus, I absolutely was doing harm. And so these are just some of the things that appealed to me. The first was longevity. The company's been around for 23 years. The second is quality. Never had a single recall, never had a lawsuit. And to me, as a pharmacist, I think I've been approached by almost everything. And my 3 questions always have been, is it safe in pregnancy? Is it safe in kids? And would you take it if you were a cancer patient? And I never had yes answered to all 3 of those questions. And so the fact that Juice Plus is studied in all 3 of those populations was incredible to me. And it's simple. It has a nutrition label, not a supplement label. A supplement label means it's made in the lab. A nutrition label obviously is whole food. It is NSF certified. And what that means is that it's safe. It does no harm. What's on the label is in the capsule, and there's also nothing in the capsule that's not on the label. 30% of Juice Plus reps are in the medical community. Thousands of doctors recommend it, and the body of research is absolutely amazing. To get a drug approved to the market, you need 2 studies on the intended population that it's designed for, and it only has to be 65% effective. And so the fact that fruits and vegetables in a capsule have 36 published studies was just mind-blowing to me. And most importantly of all of those studies, we do have bioavailability studies that prove that it gets into the bloodstream and does exactly what we think it should do. So let's talk a little bit about the research. We have a healthy gum study, also a periodontal study, or a wisdom tooth extraction study that's going on right now that's doing really well. And our mouth is the gateway to the health of our body. So if you can decrease periodontitis, it's an itis, inflammation, then you're going to have a healthy immune system overall. So there's 4 studies on heart health. We'll talk about one of those in just a minute. 4 studies on the immune system showing how Juice Plus supports a healthy immune system. 4 studies on DNA, and this is important to me as a mom because that's what you pass on to your kids. You pass on healthy or unhealthy DNA, and it sets them up for their future. Look at how many studies we have on oxidative stress. That's exactly what I talked about with that toxicity slide. We have a skin study that showed that blood flow was increased to the microvascular circulation by 39%. So if you take that one step further and think about diabetics for a minute, what is compromised in diabetics? Healing of the skin. If they get skin tears, that's a risk. Skin bed sores and stuff like that. Also nerves. You worry about peripheral neuropathy. You worry about kidney function. You worry about eye health. all of those are microvascular circulation. So this study excites me so much for prevention in complications that really do have the chance to ruin a person's life. I mean, those are the little things that matter that we could prevent. And then we have a few studies on systemic inflammation, which I had said earlier is kind of the root of all disease, in my opinion. This is the elite study of Cobra soldiers. And this is a good study to share with anyone who exercises, because what this study showed, these are our equivalent to Navy SEALs. So they're put through rigorous training. These guys are all fed the same diet. They sleep the same amount of time. So it was a really controlled environment. And basically what this fancy slide shows is the people that were on Juice Plus were able to work out longer, they were able to work out harder, and they were able to recover quicker. So that's important for anyone training for anything or just any athlete in general. It's nice to not wake up and be so sore the next day. My husband and I did a Tough Mudder last September, and we tripled our vineyard, which is the one for inflammation, a week before. And here it was 11 miles and 25 obstacles. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to walk for a week after getting done with it. I was sore for one day and then went back to my normal workout class. And my husband was hardly sore at all. So we are perfect examples of this study right here. This is one of my favorites as well. This is the Children's Health Study. And these results are after just a year on Juice Plus. So 56% were taking fewer over-the-counter and prescription medications. 61% were eating more fruits and vegetables, which is awesome for prevention, as we're talking about. 71% were drinking more water and consuming less fast food. 96% of these kids were reaping some sort of positive benefit in some way, which is so exciting to me. And we are definitely not alone in, not seeing the doctor after taking Juice Plus. So I love to ask people how old they think this Happy Meal is. And I've never gotten the correct answer, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever. This is 16 years old. It looks like you could eat it except for the crusty bun right up here. So one thing that I love about Juice Plus is that they are so open to doing different out-of-the-box studies. So a group of physicians approached corporate and said, we know the majority of heart attacks and stroke happen after a high-fat meal. Will you study it? And so they said, of course they will. So they partnered with Maryland. It's a leading cardiac institute in the United States. And they did a 28-day fast food study. So what they did was they brought a group of people into the lab, tested their blood pressure, sent them away to McDonald's, fed them all the same high-fat meal, brought them back to the lab, tested their blood pressure again. And what they found was a staggering 50% vasoconstriction that lasted 4 to 6 hours. So that means that anytime our body ingests trans fat or man-made fat that we talked about, that hydrogenated oil, your body instantly, your vessels shrink down to protect itself. And it takes 4 to 6 hours for that response to relax. So they sent 3 groups away. They sent a placebo group, an orchard and garden group, and an orchard, garden, and vineyard group. And what they found was that they brought them back at 28 days, tested the blood pressure, gave them a high-fat meal, tested the blood pressure again, and the orchard, garden, and vineyard group had a 62% reduction in that vasoconstriction. So it was 62% easier for their hearts to pump that blood through. The placebo group obviously was the same, and that's shown here. And the orchard, garden, and vineyard group had less than 2% vasoconstriction. So it was as if they had not even eaten that high-fat meal. And you can think of the implications for that. Not only is that huge for me as a granddaughter of a massive, of a guy that had a massive stroke, but as a mom of lots of kids, how often do I buzz them through Runza because we're in a hurry and then drop them off at the soccer field or at the gymnastics gym or whatever? I mean, that's powerful for prevention. So what happens when you take Juice Plus for 4 months? We know there's immediate results. We know that key antioxidants, those things that leach to those free radicals and allow them to be detoxified, are increased in just 7 days. In less than a month, 75% of those free radicals that we talked about are eliminated throughout the body. 42 days, you have an increased resistance to LDL, which is the lousy cholesterol that gets in and causes disease. So you have an increased resistance to the LDL cholesterol oxidation. And in 80 days, you can read all of those things. But my favorite thing that happens at 80 days is that our T cells, which are the sergeants of the immune system, are increased. And what those T cells do is they tell the B cells where to go and what to do. So in a properly functioning immune system, your T cells and B cells are at a proper ratio. But in a sick immune system, in an autoimmune condition, whether it's Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or asthma or COPD or MS or lupus, or there's 170 different autoimmune conditions. The B cells rise in number and the T cells are depleted. And so your body is like a kindergarten classroom with no teachers. It just does not know how to function. And so anytime you can increase those T cells and have more sergeants, you naturally have less disease and less immune issues. So the T cells were increased. The proteins that make the T cells were also increased, which I love because that shows that it's not a fluke. That shows that those proteins are going to turn into cells, and it's a cycle that's going to keep continuing. And then the other important thing about the 80-day study was that the natural killer cells were also increased. And natural killer cells are our God-given ability to have little Pac-Men that roam around the system and eat cancer. Even infants have cancer cells. But in a normally functioning immune system, your natural killer cells are the Pac-Men that gobble up those cells and don't make it a problem for us. So anytime you have more Pac-Men eating cancer, you naturally have less cancer. So this is Dr. Richard Du Bois. He was the former chief of infectious disease and internal medicine at the Atlanta Medical Center. And he says, after looking at all the research done on Juice Plus, I recognize that there is nothing else available any place in the world with or without a prescription that is shown to do all of those things in the human body. So we've talked about Juice Plus, which is like the oil that you put in your engine. And I'm a perfect example. I drove into 78 LTD for 6 years. And I know that a car can run on little or no oil for a while, but eventually it seizes up, right? So our bodies are the same thing. So the Complete is different because it is like the gasoline that you put in your car. It can be a meal or a snack. You can make delicious protein balls or a pudding out of it. It's low fat, low sugar, low glycemic index, gluten-free, vegan, non-GMO. It's plant-based. Soy gets a really bad rap, but if you think about soy, if soy were bad for us, the Japanese and the Chinese would be the sickest in all the world. Actually, they're the healthiest. So soy is not bad. The way it's processed is bad. And Juice Plus, the Complete, is completely water washed. So it's not chemically washed, and it's as pure as you can get. So basically what this fancy paragraph says is you aren't going to find a purer plant protein anywhere that is as safe as this is for human consumption. So what does good health mean to you? Does it mean healthy eating? Does it mean lots of energy? Does it mean being fit? Does it mean preventing disease? I want to encourage you as you leave this presentation today to think, what is one simple change that you could make? You can start today. You can go through the end of August. You can contact one of us to be added to our One Simple Change group. So how can you incorporate more whole food or drink more water or get outside and move with your kids or grandkids? How could you sleep more and stress less? Those are all great things to think about, because if you think about it, at the end of 6 months, even making one simple change a month, you're going to be a totally different person and way healthier. So every bite you take is either feeding disease or fighting it. Which are you going to choose today? Your body is a finely tuned vehicle. Give it good fuel and it'll take you amazing places. So one thing that we do is a salad in a jar event. And these are so fun because it reminds people when they open their refrigerator that it's not hard to eat more whole food. You just grab a jar and dump it on the plate. So I just appreciate you guys giving your time and attention to this today. And I really do appreciate you wanting to know more about healthy living. So you can contact me at any time if you have any questions. Thanks so much, guys.